Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today's December 28, 2025. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Also want to thank the city of Los Angeles and its great music scene for bringing me to the attention of our guests today through people like Horace Tapscott and Vinny Golia. I welcome William Roper. Roper, where are you calling from?
Altadena.
First question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
To get up in the morning.
I like that. What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Full sensory. Full sensory.
Full sensory, yeah. All the senses. Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Survival.
You think this need or want to collect information is more innate or more invented?
It's innate.
Yeah. Do thoughts create emotions?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
think it.
I like that. Do you think thinking is more innate or more invented?
It's innate, I think.
Yeah. Can humans think without language?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or at least they could. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chomsky says language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. Roper, what do you do when language breaks down?
Sit down, think, and try again.
Really good. I'm with you 100% there. Your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
More feeling beings.
Yeah. That's what most people say, but it's hard because you can't really separate thinking and feeling, but we think we can because we invented the words. Bridget Bardot.
Well, I agree with that. It's
Yeah.
As soon as I said it, I had doubts.
Yeah.
I had doubts. But I'd say feeling. I would still stick with feeling.
Yeah. No, 80% of people say feeling. And Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. And I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off? And people who meditate go, now think about not thinking. But I'm curious your thoughts on this. There's a bumper sticker on a car in my street, and it goes, don't believe everything you think. And I'm like, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
That's wise advice.
Yeah. There are two from Alan Turing in the 50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
When it is when it is.
Yeah.
It is when it is. It depends on soul, your definition of that. Does one have one? Does one have one? It's not obvious to me. I mean, does a snail have a soul? How different is a snail from us?
Yeah.
Very different. But then what do we know? We only know us.
Yeah.
And from our point of view, snail may have a whole different world that we're not privy to.
Yep.
So does it have a soul? When I eat one, I hope not. But, same with cows and pigs.
Yeah.
And they're higher, and people eat people. So,
yeah.
It may be a conceit to think we have a soul.
Really good point. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
They're getting there.
Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Happiness.
I got the question from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He says that happiness doesn't tend to last and meaning tends to last. What do you think of that?
I think that it depends on who you are and the person. I
Yeah.
don't think it's an absolute,
Yeah.
and happiness can be meaning,
Yep.
and meaning can be happiness. I think it just really depends. I think it's too broad a statement for
Yeah.
me to invest in.
Yeah. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
I think I guess I would have to say detecting it, because I would say that it's there.
Yeah.
If you're conscious, you're conscious.
Yeah.
That's part of the condition. So I would think it's always there. And if you're noticing it, then you're detecting it. You're not creating it,
Yeah.
you know.
What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I'm not trying to put people on the spot. You saying I don't know or I can't answer, that's totally valid. Tangents, stories, and anecdotes are welcome. But it's funny because I just talked to a great musician the other day and he brought up the speed of sound. And I'm like, I've never even heard of that. So, what do you think is the relationship of speed of sound in regards to speed of light and speed of thought?
Well, the speed of sound is slower than the speed of light.
Yeah.
That's measured. That's measurable. You
Yeah.
know? So it's slower. Speed of thought, I don't know if they've tried to measure that. And I would
Yeah.
think that, well, actually they have, because they know about speed between synapses and
Yeah.
all. But I think that would just depend on people.
Yeah.
If you're on certain drugs, your thoughts are going to be slower. If you're on
Yeah.
other drugs, it's going to be faster, you know?
Audre Lorde, the poet, said, "You can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools." Her colleague said, "Oh, yeah, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest? And it doesn't have to be tangible."
I would I would say that you wouldn't need a new tool. I'd go with the retort that she got. You just use the tools.
Yeah.
The tools put it together. You can use those tools to take it apart. If you come up in the process of that with something new, you do.
Yeah.
But since I'm not taking something apart right now, I'm not. I don't have any new tools.
Yeah. Let's erase the word new and just say, what tool do you most gravitate towards?
To take something apart,
Well, in regards to just in general, and not a specific, like I asked, you put the questions into the context you want, because sometimes I open these questions with cute quotes, and it doesn't mean you have to apply them. And like the word new, you don't have to apply. You already challenged that word, which I appreciate. It's like me and you versus the wording on the question. So I like when people introduce new verbs and nouns to the words, but it's just in general for you, what tool do you most gravitate towards in any context you want to put it in?
I would say this is in terms of taking things apart. I'd say a gentle prying tool or a very mild acid to you know, disconnect the joints, the pieces,
Yeah.
where I still end up with the individual pieces so that I can do something with them later if I want it, or reconstruct what I took apart. So a gentle prying tool or a very gentle acid.
I like that word gentle in there too. That really, really articulate and concise. I appreciate it. What toy do you gravitate towards? I ask people this tool question so often. One person finally says, well, what about a toy? So now I just add, what toy do you gravitate towards?
I would say a ball, because you can manipulate it in a way where it comes back to you and you can keep playing with it. Yes, that's what I would say.
I like that a lot. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Getting through the night without too much anxiety,
Yeah.
without too much worry,
Yeah.
sleeping through the night. Yeah.
Agree with you 100% there. McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound, the poet, that artists, musicians are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
Because we have immediate things to be concerned with.
Yeah.
You have to eat, you have to stay warm, you have to stay cool, you have to have water. Those things are immediate and important. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Concerned with matters of consequence, and art, music, whatever, can be interpreted as inconsequential, and quite rightly so, depending on the situation. Yeah.
Do artists have moral obligation?
No more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So yes, they do, but no more than anybody else.
Yeah. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
I'm not afraid of either of them.
That is a good move. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Well, I can. I'm just trying to put them in order, chronological order. And well, I'll just give one. I'll just give one. We had a sleepover. So I don't know how old I would say I was about 3 or 4. I don't think I was in school yet. We had a sleepover, and we were eating breakfast. The youth, the children, cousins, sisters, stuff like that. And we had oatmeal. And it became clear to me that morning that I didn't like oatmeal. And I didn't want it, but I was made to eat it because it was in my bowl.
Wow.
So I ate it. And now, not that it's related that I know, but I'm allergic to oats in various forms, not in all forms, but in certain forms, I react to oats physically. Yeah.
Wow. Appreciate that's pretty heavy. I really appreciate you. You are indeed articulate. You paint a good picture. I really understood there. Do you think memory is more a curse or more a blessing?
I think that overall, I'd have to say it's a curse. It would be
Yeah.
marvelous not to remember anything past a week. Yeah. Yeah.
Roper, that's amazing because almost 99% of people go, well, it's a blessing. And then sometimes they go, well, it could be a curse. But people who just outright say it's a curse, it's a blessing to a point, but to say after a week, do we really need to remember anything? That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Memories can hurt,
Yeah.
you know. They influence your life. They make you do what you do each day. Be better to be free. People say
Free.
they want to be free.
Yeah.
You can only be free if you don't have memories,
Yeah.
you know.
It's beautiful.
So,
Tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
um, I would say my sister. My sister, she had an impact on me. She'd be surprised to hear this, but the impact was I was about to have a fight in elementary school. It was after school. It was out in front of the school. I was about to have a fight. You know, kids gather around and all that. She's a year older than me. I was about to have a fight, and she stepped in. You know, she stepped in either to stop the fight or the fight the person I was going to fight. And I did not appreciate that because I can fight my own fights. But the deal is, she was willing to step in
Yeah.
because she was family. Yeah. So that's the impact. Sometimes you need to step in,
Yeah.
you know, for whatever reason. But you have to judge it. You have to judge it, you know.
Yeah.
I probably would have won that fight, but I don't remember those many details. But
Yeah.
I know as a kid, I didn't have fights that I didn't think I could win,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
Wow. Again, what a picture to paint. I really visualized it. Thank you. And the same question, outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact, and what was the impact?
Well, a lot of people have had impacts, but let's see. I would say, all right. So I was talking to one of my teachers, and we were talking about a tenor tuba solo. The tenor tuba solo in pictures at an exhibition in the beadlo movement. And often tuba players don't play that, you know, trombone players play it because it's really written for a different instrument than what we play. Anyway, he was the tuba player in the San Francisco Symphony at the time, and Cheryl Munch was conducting, and he was going to play this solo, you know, and he spoke to Munch about it and said, yeah, he's going to play it. He can play it. And Munch said to him, he looked at him and said, you don't want to just play it. You want to be the conquering hero. And that's, yeah. If you're going to do something on that level, you want to be the conquering hero. Yeah.
Strong words.
Yeah.
Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
Well, for me, it's extended family, but yes, they did. Baptist. Yeah.
Do you pray?
No, I'm an atheist.
If God does exist, what would you want God to say to you after you die?
I'm sorry.
I get that. That's a good comment. Do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Evil people exist.
The real hidden question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And let me set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I would say to Alan, who I've spent a lot of time with, not in the flesh, but,
Yeah.
listening to and all, I would say to Alan, that's true when it's true.
Yeah.
But enemies come in all different shapes and forms, and their actions are all different.
Yeah.
And in many instances, you'd be silly not to acknowledge your enemy. An enemy is an enemy. And if they're active and malevolent and malicious, you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And you may have to take them out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Alan lived in a special world. He could say something like that.
Well, here. You brought up the word hero, and it's a perfect, you must have ESP, because this is Nassim Taleb extending this. He said, games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. Gregory Bateson says, if the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, oh, I did something morally and socially wrong? So again, it's a lot of prompts, but the basic question is, does punishment work?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Works on who it works on. And it depends on why you're punishing them, what they did, how they felt about how they did it, and the punishment has to, if you're punishing someone because they're a problem, if you kill them, they're not a problem anymore. So that punishment worked. Now, are people willing to go that far? Some are, just depends. If it's a kid and you slap a kid because they misbehaved, it may work. It may make them your enemy for the rest of your life and their life.
Yeah.
So it just depends. It's a crapshoot. But I would say, don't let them go unpunished. Do some kind of punishment just for yourself.
Yeah.
If nothing else, just for yourself.
Yeah.
And if they persist, then maybe you have to escalate or move or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to, you don't have to, but sometimes you need to be vicious, or absolute or resolute. Maybe vicious is, depends on the situation.
Yeah.
But I believe in punishment. Yeah, I've been punished. Why shouldn't someone else be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, Faulkner said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Well, you can do both of them.
Yeah.
And perhaps you need to do both of them, because if you're living life, you're in it.
Yeah.
If you're watching life, first of all, you're watching someone's interpretation of life. Secondly, you're out of it, so you can interpret. And that's enough. When you're in the midst of things, you're in the midst of it. You are processing. You're just busy.
Yeah.
You're out of it, then you can do other things. Now, for example, back to Joyce, I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't go to theaters and watch movies. Very rarely. And I stopped doing that because they're manipulative. You go to a movie, all of a sudden you're crying. You say, well, why am I crying? I don't like this movie. I don't like these characters. I have no investment in this, and I'm crying.
Yeah.
Well, I have enough in my own life to cry about.
Yeah.
That's real. And because who I am, I will cry about it. Some people may need a movie to make them cry.
Yeah.
I don't need a movie to make me cry. I can walk out the front door and start crying because there's enough shit out there, right? So, on the other hand, like I say, I'm processing in myself, but you go to see something or experience something, you're outside of it. And also, I think the biggest thing is it's interpretive. If you put a camera up in front of a tree and just record the tree and then show it, that's an interpretation. That's not the same as you sitting in front of the tree.
Yeah.
And it's the interpretation of the person who did the filming. It's the interpretation of the editor, if it was edited. And it's your interpretation by being in the position of not a primary observer, but an observer 2 or 3 levels down. And that can be valuable in itself. It can let you learn about yourself. It can let you learn about the person who shot it. It can let you learn about all kinds of things that you would perhaps, and I would say necessarily, miss some of them by sitting in front of the tree yourself.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you have time for,
Yeah. Really well put. One comment made me think, because I've been a student maker of cinema for 60 years, and I think it's really never reached its potential, and it's kind of stupid and horrible in a lot of ways. But I understand what you're saying about manipulation, because a friend of mine saw Blue Velvet when it came out by David Lynch, and goes, I guess it's a good movie, but I don't want to spend 2 hours of my life with those people. And it's like, yeah, you're forced to spend time with these people. I mean, when
it was a really depressing film. I remember that film.
Yeah, and we grew up, we didn't walk out on movies or change the channel. Our thing was, you go to a movie and you sit there for 90 minutes or 2 hours. Now it's like, hey, I'm out of here. But I mean, and none of us go to movie theaters anyways anymore, because we know how lame a medium it is. But there are some that sneak through. I mean, if you see a soundtrack to Coup d'etat, it's got Eric Dolphy, Miles Davis, all these great people, and it's all about the killing of a politician in Africa by the CIA. I go, this is what cinema should be doing, teaching us through these great cultural icons. So I really appreciate what you just said. It really touched me deeply. It made me cry. So I appreciate that, because I know when these go good, when either I cry or the person I'm interviewing cries, and it really touched me deeply. And, Roper, I really appreciate the fact that you've spent time doing a website that's so thorough. So I do recommend people to go to that to learn your story of how you got to the tuba and your upbringing in the music world. So I don't want to regurgitate that, but I want to sort of like jump into this point. And you tackled it a little in one of your interviews. Where's the tipping point for you when you kind of knew that being a creator, a creative soul, was your calling? Because you started music young, but you're also a painter. You do assemblage, you do performance art, you do so much, culinary art, you do all these. Is there some sort of tipping point in your life where you go, this is my calling to be creative?
So yes, but it's complicated. Uh, Basically, it was when I started playing tuba. You know, it was just then.
Yeah.
Which was junior high. Um, the reason I say it's complicated is what I wanted to do was play tuba. Now, the question is somewhat controversial. Just because you're playing an instrument doesn't mean you're being creative.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or there's levels of creativity,
Yeah.
right? There's levels of creativity. So, yeah, I wanted to play tuba. Um, and that was junior high. And I will, for the entertainment factor, since this is showbiz and we're in showbiz, I will tell you a story that I tell. I don't think it's on the website. So we had, my sister and I had moved from my Uncle Ed's to my grandmother's, right? And because we were raised by extended family. And, but Uncle Ed would come over to my grandmother's, you know, to visit, and on Sundays, because we all went to the same church. And so this Sunday, and I'm in junior high school, and he and I are in the living room on the couch watching the football game while dinner is being prepared, right? And we didn't talk much. You know, it was that age. We didn't talk much. It's awkward, right? Awkward. But we're watching, and he says to me, well, what do you want to do
Yeah.
when you grow up? What are you thinking that you want to do when you grow up? And I say, we're not looking at each other. We're looking at the TV. LA Rams playing somebody, Deacon Jones. And I say to him, well, I've been playing the tuba. I like playing the tuba. I think I want to be a tuba player. And there's a moment, and we're still just looking straight at the TV. There's a moment, he takes a moment, and then he says, the post office pays well.
Wow.
That cleared it up for me too. You know, like, okay, but I want to play the tuba. You ask me, and that's your response. That's all you have to say to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's heavy. I don't know how heavy I thought it was then,
Yeah.
but I'm 70 now.
Yeah.
And I remember that. Right. And I've always remembered that.
That's heavy.
But back to your thing. So that's when I knew I wanted to be a musician. Like I say, did I know I wanted to be an artist? Well, again, all depends on your definitions, you know.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily an artist just because you're a musician, you know.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily creative just because you draw. You know, I mean, they're fine points, and I wouldn't spend a lot of time arguing with somebody about it. I would just say what I think.
Yeah.
And you know, you can approach something with the art spirit and such. And does that make you an artist? Maybe. I guess so. I guess so. But that's when I knew. Early. Basically, when I started playing the tuba, it was pretty clear to me, you know, that that's what I wanted to do. But I was the two teachers who supported me back then in that junior high school, they were propagandists, and they lobbied me to think that tuba was a way to possibly go. You know, I don't know what was wrong with them.
Wrong. I think that was beautiful that they did. But let me just interject that McLuhan has this great line that goes, Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can. And I think you were illustrating some sort of compulsion or drive to be that tuba player, to be that musician, even though your uncle's saying, hey, the post office pays well. You already had that, man. Hey, I've got a vision here and I'm going to do something as well as I can. And people can label it what they do. So, you know, then you grow up and you're composing music. So I'm curious if we can go into that. A screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process when you're writing a Roper song? Not a commission, not something for someone else, just a Roper composition. What role does intention play?
It plays the primary role, because I couldn't do it without the intention. I couldn't do it without a vision of what's at the end. Because I don't like doing it. I don't like process. I like the finished product, or I like having a finished product. Whether I actually like the finished project or not depends on the project, but product. But I like having a finished product. So I have to my intent, which I would interpret as my vision, my end goal, is absolutely necessary from beginning to end. Now that intent, that vision may change in the process of creating it. But I have to have it. And to take it further, I can't expect my intent to be related to, I don't think my intent is important to the consumer of the final product.
Wow.
You know, they show up with their own life, you know, and I mean, it depends on the art you do and the project you're doing, you know, but not necessarily. Well, yeah, but the intent has nothing to do with the reception necessarily. You know, if you're painting a tree and you paint realistically, okay, then it does. But if you're painting a tree and you don't paint realistically, they may not see a tree.
Yeah.
Are you going to be upset because they don't see a tree? Well, if you are, you're a little self-involved.
Yeah.
You know? If you want them to really see a tree, you paint a tree.
Yeah.
You know? So, and of course, that's a real simple example, but it's, and then, it depends on the art form. A lot of music is abstract. Most of the music I do is abstract. So if I'm envisioning as I compose something, rushing water. What the hell does that mean? You
Yeah.
know, in terms of music, unless you have, descending strings and all that. But even that's culturally dependent. So intent for most of what I do, intent is for me.
Yeah.
It's not for them.
Well,
They're
that's
free.
funny. You have BSP because that's exactly the next question, and I'm going to ask it anyways. But you pretty much handled it there. But I wanted to say one line I love is either Matisse or Cezanne said, "If you paint a painting and you go outside and put it in the bushes and it blends in, it's a good painting," which I think is a funny comment, sort of evoking what you were talking about. But there's another line I love to hear is, once the artist makes their art, it's no longer theirs. The user can do whatever they want with it. So
Exactly.
the next question is in that regard. Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your audience when you're composing your piece or when you're painting your painting?
I think of them a lot, but in the sense of I know there's going to be an audience, even if it's only one.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of them because I'm not doing it just for myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doing it just for myself. So I'm thinking of them. Um, but not too deeply,
Yeah.
not too deeply. Yeah. I think of them all the time when I'm working,
Yeah.
but I'm not thinking of them in the sense of I want them to like it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I do care if they like it, but I don't have any control
Yeah.
over whether they like it or not because I've done enough of it where say it's a performance. Well, I know how I performed and it's not always impressive, but people just love it.
Yeah.
They just love it. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I need to be gracious and
Yeah.
say thank
That's just
you, you know,
that
but I
you have.
know what I did or what I didn't do, so I don't have any control over that,
Yeah.
you know, but they showed up, and so I'm always thinking people are going to somebody's going to see it somewhere, somehow. And so, yeah,
I
I
love
think
you.
of them all the time.
I love your gracious line. You played with my wife, Susie Williams, and Steve Weisberg's orchestra, and someone will come up to her and say, "You were great." She goes, "I sucked eggs." And I'm like, dude, you got to be gracious. They're
Yeah.
coming up and saying, and she's generally very kind, but it's like when you said that word gracious, that really resonated. And I appreciate that. And then McLuhan also says that everything we invent extends some humanness. Like knife and fork extends our teeth. Shutter and a camera extends our eyelid, and maybe even non-tangible, say religion or philosophy, extends consciousness. What humanness does the tuba extend for you?
Well, if it's my music or music that it could be someone else's music, but gives the performer some freedom, then it extends my humanness, even in the context of someone else's music. It extends my humanity. Um, my thought processes and emotions, not that the audience would know what they are. They can pretend they know, or they can think they know. But if it's Brahms, then it extends his humanness, and it
Yeah.
extends his culture
Yeah.
and his time period.
Yeah.
You know, that's not me. That's Brahms. Now it's a little bit of me in terms of how I play
Yeah.
those notes, but I play the tuba,
Yeah.
So very often I'm not playing a melody in those situations. You know, I'm not a oboe player with a long solo, or a flute player or a cello section. I'm playing a B flat for 4 beats, a D for 4 beats,
Yeah.
and an F for 4 beats. Now, you know, any given tuba player is going to play those differently, but the difference is going to be so subtle. Who's going to know?
Yeah.
Who's going to know? Who's going to care?
Yeah.
What matters is that you play those notes on time, in tune, and at the volume level that the conductor and the composer wants. And
Yeah.
then, so the humanity you are projecting at that time is communal, you know, within that ensemble, with that conductor, in that hall, and through time.
Yeah.
So, um, in a way, well, they're both valid. They're both equal, you
Yeah.
know. Um, a solo improvisation and playing, you know, a part in a Mahler symphony.
Yeah.
They're both equal, you know. One may be
What's
intermediate.
yeah. What's the function of music?
Depends on the music, depends on the genre.
Yeah.
It really depends on the genre. Popular music is for the populace,
Yeah.
for the polis, you know. Um, and there's all kinds of popular music. The function just depends. Some music has no function, you know,
Yeah.
has no function in and of itself. It ends up functioning maybe, but dance music is to dance, and dancing changes things for the
Yeah.
people doing it, for the people providing the music to let them do it. You know, when I was young, I would say for certain kinds of music, this is really kind of stupid music. Kind of stupid music, disco, for example. You might like the tune and all that, but it's really kind of simple and stupid until someone makes you get up on the dance floor, even if you don't dance, and all of a sudden it makes sense
Yeah.
because it was written for people to dance to,
Yeah.
you know. And I remember the club that happened at. I don't remember its name, but it was on Melrose. Yeah, near Paramount, near the Paramount Studios on the north side of the street.
Yeah, well, it's like George Clinton said, there's a fine line between funk and disco. And it's like, yeah, but I'm going to inventory some of these. I've been surveying great musicians like you for years, and I'm going to read some of them off, and you stop me if you want to elaborate, because you hit it out of the ballpark right off the bat. The first one is, there is no function. Igor Stravinsky gave lectures on music means nothing. Now, none of these are just, it's not just one. That's what you said. John Cage said, the function of music is to soothe the soul and make it susceptible for divine intervention.
Well,
Mickey, yeah, go ahead.
well, both those are true, right?
Yeah,
Both those are true. And it depends on the situation and the person.
yeah.
And yeah, both those are true.
Well, then Mickey Hart, the drummer of the Dead, said it's warning. It's like, okay, we gotta, they're being attacked, and I'm gonna hit the logs. That means we're warning, or it's time for hunting season. Dylan Buston, my great friend, said to dance. You nailed it. Norman Zamchek says to keep us from going insane. David Moss said it's the sound of being alive. And then it's all the ones that we could inventory till the cows come home. Entertainment, pleasure, nostalgia, express creativity, connection, community, ceremony, ritual, learning, stir emotion, self-awareness. But here's one I was curious your thoughts. It goes along that Brent Fisher, Claire Fisher's son said self-awareness, but my other friend said to hypnotize people to be themselves. Any thoughts on that one?
Well, it can certainly do that. It can certainly do that. It can certainly do that.
Yeah.
That's what it can certainly do that. It's, and there are musics that do that better than others, and that is their function. And yeah, that's my thought on that. Yeah, it can do that. It's a good thing for it to do if the person needs that. And yeah, okay.
Well, Zappa's hero Edgar Varese said it was organizing sound. He emphasized timbre and rhythm over traditional melody and harmony. So the next question is in that kind of regard. Copeland said the 4 elements of music. And of course, it's not just these 4, but he suggested melody, harmony, rhythm, and tone color. In non-academic terms, right off the bat, how would you define or explain tone color to someone? What is tone color?
The qualities of sound of a given instrument or group of instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or chords, Yeah. But it's the quality of sound. And I think that it's kind of you're not necessarily going to hear the tone colors that I hear.
Yeah.
Of the same, 2 minutes of music or 2 seconds of music. You're going to hear it differently, possibly. You may hear it the same. Obviously, there's some commonality, but yeah. Anyway, that's my answer.
Yeah. Well, Roper, how do you integrate or use or favor or, manipulate those 4: melody, harmony, rhythm, and tone color? Do you favor one of the 4? Do you have a process or a ritual in integrating those 4 in focusing on those 4 elements in just those? Just discuss in regards to those 4 elements.
Well, first of all, it depends on the intent of the piece.
Yeah.
Depends on what we were talking before. That in the end product depends on that, and then that will determine what needs to happen. It is hard. It is difficult in Western music well, it's not. I was going to say it's difficult in Western music to get rid of rhythm, but it's easy in any music. It's easy to get rid of them. It's impossible to get rid of time in music.
Wow.
Music has time because time passes no matter what we do. Rhythm is a way of organizing time.
Yeah.
And I don't always want rhythm,
Wow. Yeah.
And a lot of musics don't want rhythm. So, and you can get rid of that. However, the listener can impose their own rhythms on what you do. They can impose their own rhythms. So in terms of those four, it just really depends. The easiest to dispense with for me is melody.
I got you. Okay.
That's the easiest to dispense with, melody. And then I think it's impossible to dispense with harmony if you have, well, I think it's impossible to dispense with it, period. But it's not impossible to dispense with functional harmony. Harmony just exists,
Yeah.
If you have more than one tone, harmony is going to exist, even if they're unisons, because they're the overtones. And if you're sensitive enough to hear those, you're going to be hearing shit. But it doesn't have to be functional, And I think often in casual discussions, when people talk about harmony, they're often talking about functional harmony.
Wow.
This leads to that. This leads to that, and so that's.
Well, that's a good breakdown because we're going to get into time in about 1 second. But I first want to ask you this. My friend says the 3 T's of music are technique, theory, and taste. Technique, you learn how to play the tuba. Theory, you know the structure. How does one acquire taste?
By exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure and discernment and trust in your judgment.
That's a good word. Trust in your judgment. Wow. Because here's a McLuhan line about taste, and I'm curious your thoughts. He said, song is slowed down speech. The reason cultures have different musical taste is ultimately connected to language difference. Any thoughts?
I'd say that's true enough. That's true enough
Yeah.
as far as it goes.
Yeah.
But I would posit, and it's probably factual evidence, sound was happening before speech.
Yeah. Sound. Wait, sound was happening before speech. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. And music was happening before speech, I would say, and I would think that I'd be backed up on it. On the other hand, it's obvious. He's not saying anything deep. You can hear people's culture and their speech patterns in the music that they do.
Yeah.
In their cultural music. It's just there. It's not deep what he said.
Well, what's more fundamental, music or language?
I would say they're equal.
Wow, no one's ever said that. That's good. I like that. Because you touched on time, and I think this interweaves with everything you've been talking about here. Why is 4/4 time the most commonly used time signature in Western music?
It's easy. I mean, it's basic. 4/4 time is 2/2 time times 2. It's just basic. That's how you. Well, it's not how everybody walks. But 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Yeah.
As opposed, if you're doing 1 1 1. All right, but 1 2 1 2, that's balanced. And 1 2 is 4/4. This is simple. It's easy.
Yeah. Wayne Pete told me you have 2 hands and you have 2 arms and you have 2 feet. And so that's 4/4. And it's actually distinguished in these lines, besides being intuitive and easy, which you said, it might be because it's in sync with walking and marching and with our heartbeat rhythm. What time signature do you think our heartbeat is in? Is it in a time signature?
Yeah, but it's not even. I mean, when I listen to my heart and I listen to other hearts, I used to have a stethoscope. Yeah, but also, like I started to say walking, then I stopped.
Yeah.
Because how much walking is even? You know, do you walk in straight eighth notes? Not everybody does. You know, there's swing walking. There's dotted eighth and 16th walking, and how you walk at 70 is not how you walk at 20. So that's why I pulled up on the walking. That's
Yeah.
sort of centric in many ways. It's culturally centric, it's age centric. It's so I
Good
pulled the
word.
walking out of, yeah, you have 2 feet and you use them, but they're not necessarily even.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this is Roper. I'm going to bring in Beefheart and Zappa for a second because Frank said it is unnatural to play in 4/4 because you don't speak in 4/4. But Captain Beefheart said he wanted to vary from the mama heartbeat, that same old 4/4 rhythm, because it's related to fascism. It's so fixative, so hypnotic, so synthesized, it's dangerous to the heart. Faster than the beat disco is dangerous, and he wanted non-hypnotic music to break us out of the catatonic state. So any thoughts on any of those two gentlemen's ideas?
they are they're both living in esoteric worlds, as one teaches, recondite esoteric worlds. They have the luxury to think that way.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's theoretical, and that's
Yeah.
what we're doing,
Yeah.
But and it's true. Like so many, it's true when it's true. It's true for them, and they were often, these quotes and all. They're in situations like this where you have to give an answer.
Yeah.
You have to give an answer. Now, especially those guys or folks who write books and all, goes back to they're thinking of posterity. They're thinking of their legacy. They need to say something that's gonna reverberate, that's gonna be interesting for people to say. So I often wonder, do they really believe that? Or to what degree do they believe it?
Yeah.
It's true. It's as true as it is, but it doesn't cover everything. And
Yeah.
they're smart enough to know it doesn't cover everything.
Yeah, and I'm being unfair because I'm taking it out of context. And it is, I mean, Frank's the last one. He didn't want to, he often said, I'm not here for a legacy. I'm here to live in the moment. And that's what life's all about, living in the moment. I think he studied Eastern philosophy. But just moving
But he
on.
wrote his shit down.
Right. So that his players could play it.
Yeah, but once you write it down and once you recorded it, and he pursued recording contracts and all.
Yeah, that's right.
You're dealing with more than the moment.
That is true.
You're dealing with it in a very real, concrete way.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that shit's easy to say.
Yeah.
And it sounds good.
Yeah.
And the same with Alan Watts,
Yeah.
He recorded all that shit. He wrote all those books.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's living in the moment, and that's fine, but you're also working on living forever.
You're nailing it so perfectly, because one of my heroes, Duchamp, said, I'm going to contradict myself so I don't conform to my own ideas. And I know you brought up the word story. Hollis Frampton, the great experimental filmmaker, said narrative is born among the animal necessities of the spirit because we're waiting to die. So I ask you, Roper, can you forget to die?
No. And I'm not interested in forgetting to die.
Yeah.
I've thought about dying every day since I was a kid,
Wow.
because first of all, we're going to do it. Second of all, you don't know when it's going to happen. And I just can't ignore it.
Yeah.
I've come too close to it too often. And for me, it's a worthless pursuit, forgetting
Yeah.
to die. You're going to die. Everyone around you is going to die.
Yeah.
So what's
Well, I
the
think,
quality of your life, and what's going to be the quality of your death if you have any control over the quality of your death?
yeah. But I did. Well, one other thing you touched on, which I really want to emphasize, is what Rebecca Solnit says. Just because you ask me a question doesn't mean I have to answer it. So, I'm not after you people answering questions, but I just use them as prompts to have discussion. So, I mean, this is the next element of music I'd love to explore is silence. How do you know when to not play? And I'll throw out some silence quotes. A monk, Thelonious Monk, said silence is the loudest sound in the universe. I'm curious your thoughts on when Miles talked about the space between notes.
Well, they're part of the composition.
Yeah.
Silence is golden, as they
Yeah.
say. I
Yeah.
mean, there's silence is an event in time, particularly if there's other sounds going on.
Yeah.
So it's extremely important. And say if you're improvising, if it's not composed silence, if you're improvising, it's as I hesitate to use the word because I know a lot of your guests has used it a lot. It's as risky as playing. Not playing is as risky as playing.
Yeah.
And it's interpretive. If you're gonna be silent, the question or the gamble is, are you contributing or are you letting people down?
Yeah.
Say it's a group improvisation kind of thing and you're silent. Well, yeah, you need some silence in there. You need to hear what's going on, and you hear it in a different way when you're silent. But everyone needs to contribute. And if you may risk being accused of not contributing, and that's interpretive by the audience, by your fellow players, by
Yeah.
yourself. Also, you have to suppose it's a trio or a quartet, and everybody at a moment decides it's time to be silent. Say one person stops playing for whatever reason, then the next and the next. And as a group, well, you don't know what the other people are thinking, right? And then there's the audience, for crying out loud. And I may be thinking, this silence is good and I'm about to play again. But then there's all those other people, including the two people I'm playing with, and they may think the shit's over with. And then I have to think maybe it really is over with.
Then maybe it is, because
Should I play this?
You're setting up this really funny dichotomy here for me to bring up. Here's Roscoe Mitchell said silence is perfect. And Bob Dylan says, experience teaches me that silence terrifies the most. So it's either being terrified or being in a perfect state. I mean, there's
Yeah, they play different kinds of music though.
yeah, that's right.
You know, it's all dependent on that. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, they play
Yeah.
different kinds of music.
Yeah, George Clinton says funk is the absence of. But here's another one. A Wee Wee, the Chinese artist. Silence is music.
Well, for him, fine. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, it depends on what he means. You know, depends on
yeah.
what he means. You know,
Well, here's the last one in silence. Thomas Carlyle. Speech is of time, silence is of eternity.
nah, I don't go for that.
Well, let's jump into this because you're a performer. You've been doing, I mean, some of those videos on YouTube are amazing. It's just not you playing an instrument. You're really a performance artist and you do so much more. And Ruth Draper said the key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who must give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. That sounds good, but how do you do that?
The first thing you have to do is to educate your audience.
Yeah.
When I say you, I don't mean me as
Yeah.
an individual, but as a society. Because for me anyway, and especially in this town, the audience is a big part of the process. The audience shouldn't be showing up to be entertained, period.
Yeah.
Although it is my job to entertain them, and I am an entertainer, they need to realize that they are part of the process. And they have to be willing, they have to show up with the frame of mind that they are part of the whole thing, that I'm not spoon feeding them. So that's number one. And that's bigger than me and being on stage. Now, and I have this problem with a lot of my colleagues. And you know who you are. You really do have a responsibility to your audience to do more than just whatever you do.
Yeah.
You know, you need to bring them in, and you need to find some way to bring them in. And the bigger the venue, the harder it is to do that. Okay, but you have to like I had a teacher, different teacher, tuba teacher, who said to me, because I was doing recitals at the time, little small recitals, and that's not what tuba players do, or at least back then. They do it a lot more now. And I was concerned. I'll tell you two stories. Anyway, this teacher, I was talking to him about this because you don't want, especially classical music, you don't want to mess up. The thing with classical music is if you fuck up, people know that you fucked up. Same with popular music, they just know it. So he said, look, humor goes a long ways. If you can invoke some kind of humor before you start, they'll forgive almost anything.
Good.
Your audience, Now that doesn't mean you come out and do a stand-up routine, be how you shake your head or whatever, how you sit down. But I have found that to be true. And doesn't have to be humor. It's just like if you can get them on your side some way,
Yeah.
they'll forgive almost anything.
Yep.
Not only that, you're a lot less concerned because you've got them already. The other story is, and this is from the same time period, the same recitals and all, rehearsing with a piano player, and I screwed something up in the rehearsal, but it wasn't a big screw up. And I expressed, why am I doing this? This is hard, da 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 da. And she said, "What's your problem? What is your problem?" I said, "Well, they're going to show up and, I mess up." And she said, "Well, but they've already shown up. They've come here.
Yeah.
So you need to realize they're on your side anyway,
Yep.
because they already showed up. They don't have to be here.
Yeah.
So don't put yourself through this. Start from there. They've shown up for you. Yeah, you have a responsibility to them, but you don't have to prove yourself to them. That's already taken care of."
So much ESP right to the pinpoint here. Because again, it goes to Susie, my wife. She will, flub a lyric and she'll slap herself because she's sort of like Lucille Ballish, and always having fun. And I'll go, either you're bringing attention to the mistake or you're going to do like Miles taught Herbie. You just work it into the composition. But I think she has learned from 60 years of performing in places like even Carnegie Hall, saying, that endears the audience to me because they see I've paid money to see this professional and she's human. She made a mistake.
Yeah.
So it humanizes them. But that's Leonard Cohen saying the only way you can sell a concert is if you put yourself at risk. And if you don't do that, people know. What role does risk play in your creative process?
Well, in my process, it's always at risk,
Yeah.
So that probably means it doesn't play that much of a role in it.
That's funny. If it's always there, how could it not play a part?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you're always at risk. Or I'm always at risk. But I do it anyway. This is part of the equation,
Yeah.
This is part of the equation, and it's you just accept it, You just accept it. If you're gonna fight against it,
yeah,
there's enough for me to fight. I don't need to fight that. If I've decided to write a piece, okay, I'm at risk and I'm going to write it, or I'm going to stop somewhere in the process and not finish it.
Yeah.
And my life has a trail of unfinished projects behind it, and who cares?
Look at it. I'm glad we're here, Roper. You're making me laugh and think at the same time, because Napoleon Murphy Brock sang with Zappa on some of his best songs. Most people I ask, hey, what role does risk play? And they go, it's a big part. And then he said, I leave risk in the dressing room. And I think what he was saying is, I have to come out on stage and act like I'm confident. And so, this follows up with the next one. Viola Spolin said, if the audience cannot see your struggle to achieve something, they cannot root for you to achieve it. What role does struggle play in your creative process?
Well, I'm being held up because I have a reaction to that statement. So let me set that aside.
Yeah.
And answer your question. What's the question again? What role does struggle play?
Yeah. What role does struggle play in your creative process?
It is the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
Because like I say, I don't like process.
Yeah.
I hate process. It's a
Yeah.
huge struggle. People find that hard to believe, but that's why I've produced as little as I have, because I don't enjoy it, and I don't enjoy the fight. And then if I overcome it, then my life is ruined because then I'm working,
Yeah.
18 hours a day, painting for 4 days straight with no sleep and shit. That's
Yeah.
not good either, So it's in my process, it's the biggest part of it,
Yeah.
struggle. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Ben Ratliff wrote a book and he said, I mean sound as it has long functioned among jazz players as a mystical term of art, as in every musician finally needs a sound, a full and sensible embodiment of their artistic personality, such that it can be heard at best in a single note. So he would think of Miles Davis as fragile and pointed. So he summarizes in 2 words: Coltrane, slightly undercooked and urgent. If a music writer was going to describe Roper's sound in 2 words, what 2 words would you go, he got me, or they got me?
Elephantine sorrow.
Oh, elephantines. You are one great wordsmith. Elephantine sorrow. Wow. That is deep, dude. I appreciate it. What's more important, Roper? Conviction or compromise?
I'd say you have to have both.
Yeah.
You have to have, situation dependent.
Yeah, totally. Your accomplishments, how do you rate these 3 elements? Luck, skill, and ambition. What played the biggest role, second and third?
Ambition, luck, skill.
T.S. Eliot said poetry's outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
English.
And more so, like, what form is your inner consciousness in?
Um, I would say fighting against total disillusion and craziness.
Yeah. I know you use the word crazy in some of your interviews, and I just wanted to tell you, McLuhan has a great line. He says, you can't prove you're sane unless you have discharge papers from a mental hospital.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Or as Alan Watts said, what did he say? What did he say? There's no point in going to a psychiatrist unless you need your head examined.
Right. No, anybody who goes to a shrink ought to have their head examined.
There you go.
That is good. So 2 of my film heroes say that their mantras: ignore yourself, there's no self-expression. In fact, Cecil Taylor says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. Is art making, music making more self-expression, or more you're a vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
I'm going to okay. I have to keep stopping myself from responding to the quote. Um, So ask the question again, the basic question.
Is creativeness in general, not yours in particular, but you're observing of all these creative people you're around and just creative artists that have influenced you. Are they more a vehicle for their environment, or are they more self-expression? I know it's both. It's a stupid question, but it's just, is there?
I don't think it's a stupid question.
Okay, sorry.
I'm very clear on what I think about it.
Yeah.
I think it's about them. It's about the individual. It's not
Yeah.
about being a vehicle.
Okay.
You know, of course, I'm an atheist, so
Yeah.
I don't believe in vehicles. You know,
But can art making be egoless?
no.
Yeah. Is perception reality?
For the person perceiving.
Yeah. Tell me one major element of your creativeness that's changed, in one major element that stayed the same in the decades you've been being creative.
Okay. That's changed is that it's not a big deal if I don't finish.
Yeah.
That has stayed the same is do it anyway.
Yeah. I love Warhol said, don't worry about what people think of your art. Just keep making it.
There you go. You don't have any control over what they think.
That's it.
You know,
Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
playing wrong notes.
That is good.
Of course, it depends on the music, but you know.
Yeah. Do you know Hatta Brooks? Do you know that? She's a boogie woogie pianist. She played in LA. She was, it's an amazing history. But anyways, we asked her this question and she says, it's just how, you know, how good you cover up a wrong note. Because we asked her, Thelonious Monk says there are no wrong notes.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, no, it's just how good you cover it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, I asked for 90 minutes and we're almost there. Can you go a little longer?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you again for your time and energy. This has truly been enlightening for me. Fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when
you find a way to let it go, even if that means carrying it through.
Yeah, it's good. What's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
Men are more obtuse in their lying, in how they lie.
Yeah.
As in tell untruths. They both do that, but men are more obtuse, I'd say.
Really articulate and concise there, dude, because Marcel Proust asked the next question. On what occasion do you lie?
when it will get me out of a rough situation that is not of my making, and I have no business being there in the first place.
Really good. There's a line that goes, "You create what you resist." Bob Goldthwait, the comedian, morphed it into, "You are what you hate." James Joyce said, "It's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve." And Louis Buñuel nailed it. He said, "Thank God I'm an atheist." So I'm just curious, your thought on this line, "You create what you resist." I'm not saying you, Roper. I'm saying one creates what one resists. Any thoughts on that line?
Well, if you're resisting something, you are acknowledging its being,
Yeah,
and being is a constant creation.
yeah. These are 5 quick Alan Watts questions off the top of your head in just a couple words. 1, who started it all?
Space.
2, are we going to make it?
No.
3, where do we put it?
In your back pocket.
4, who's cleaning it up?
You are.
5, is it serious?
One hopes not.
Perfect lead into, I asked my friend, he wrote comedy with Robin Williams, I says, "Can satire be destructive?" And he says, "That's the job of satire." And I was like, well, if me or you do a cartoon in a certain country, they might kill us. And maybe some people think dying is destructive. Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. What's the function of satire?
To I like that mirror thing. To put yourself or themselves in front of themselves.
Yeah.
Yourself. Yeah. To make it really hard to ignore.
Hard. What's the function of laughter?
To let go, to cover shit up.
Yeah. Cover shit up. Because this is Steve Allen saying behind every joke, there's a grievance. Any thought on that?
I would say I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
How do you find peace of mind?
A heavily melatonin induced sleep.
Wait, the first word was heaven. What was the
Heavily.
first?
Heavily.
Oh, heavily. I almost wanted to hear heavenly, but heavily induced sleep. Yeah.
Melatonin induced, or
Yeah.
whatever you use to induce it.
Yeah. That's good. Um, if you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Get out early. Make it as painless as possible, but get out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Get
Which
out now.
Yeah, get out now. I like it. Which way should toilet paper come off the roll? Over or under?
Over.
If a publisher was going to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
I told you so.
They want to scent the glue in the binding of your book. What smell?
Patchouli.
Very good. If a statue was built in your honor, where would you want it displayed and what would it be made of?
I would want it displayed in front of a Trump hotel, and I would want it to be made out of brass, gold brass.
Nice. Utah Phillips says anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules?
The polis.
Nice. Good word, dude. I love that word. It
Sorry.
reminds me it reminds me of George Carlin saying, "How can you ever have a civil war?"
There you go.
Okay. But the word freedom is exactly what Utah Phillips said. Freedom etymologically breaks down to saying giving oneself one's own laws. What does freedom mean to you now?
It means doing what I can to live good and not have any trouble.
Yeah.
Which is
Tell
a
me,
little selfish, but that's all right.
hey, dude, I appreciate our time here because I think you laid the cards on the table. You're honest. You just say, you know, that's what I'm just after what you've done for the last 90 minutes. So I'm really grateful. Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
A wife and kids.
That is a legitimate answer. You never had a wife and kids. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
I just find a way to expire real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, this woman on the Venice boardwalk told me she would take the velocity of the bag of shit and use it to swoop her way out of the vat of vomit. I went, dude, I said, dude, that's Edgar Allan Poe's short story, Descent into the Maelstrom. You know,
Yeah.
you use the breakdown for a breakthrough. Beautiful. What's a cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
Trump and the MAGA movement. Because he makes people not pretend anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of people who pretended for decades and, you know, believe shit that was partially true. But yeah, the cultural shift for me is that people can't pretend they're other than what they are to the folks in power. You know, it's becoming clear to some of my fellow humans in this country that for the folks in charge, they're no different from me. They might have thought they were different from me, but basically, if you don't have big power and big money, you're just the bottom of the floor. Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter where you were born, doesn't matter that you're middle class or think you're middle class. To those folks, you're just shit. You're shit, you're dirt. And for a long time, people in this country could pretend like they weren't, that they were different from other folks. The orange guy and his cronies is making it clear to everybody that you're just suckers and saps and rags to be drawn across their ass. And that's for everybody. And that's a shift, and it's a good one, because you kind of have to know where you stand so you can stand up.
Yeah.
Stand up in unity. You have to realize that it's never going to work by yourself. And yourself can be your little group. The groups have to come together. And this country was always about groups, little groups against each other, not having time to see the foot that was stepping on them.
Yeah.
And that includes me. But now we it's harder to ignore that foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the emperor's clothing. What's the difference between rights and responsibilities?
Rights are an illusion without responsibility.
Yeah.
You're not going to have them if you don't take the responsibility to first agree on them, demand them, and maintain them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you personally handle false fears? Take, for example, the war on drugs. You can't say no to drugs because drugs don't talk. And you can't fight drugs because drugs don't fight. You can't have a war on drugs. So we've had these false fears bestowed on us for years. The war on terrorism, the war on drugs. How do you personally handle false fears?
I try to determine the truth.
Yeah.
First, my truth, and then put my truth up against what stands for group truths, and then make a judgment. How close am I? How far are we apart?
Yeah. Wow, that's deep because, again, back to Louis Buñuel, he says, I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it. Most people go, that's true. I agree with that. One guy says, no, that's bullshit, because if I'm going to seek something, it's because I want to find it. So I morphed it into this question. If the journey's more important than the destination, then why do we have to seek or name a destination?
Yeah. Well, look, if you're going to take the journey, you're going to end up someplace. So
Yeah.
they're just there. It's just, And you're not going to end up any place without a journey.
Yeah.
Even if you're standing still, the world's going to be moving around you. So, but you have to, it's like I say, back to the art. I don't like process. I like the product.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to have the product without going through the process.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I have to like it, but I got to go through it, you know.
Yeah.
And you're going to go through a journey no matter what you do, you know, unless you stop it. But the only way to stop it is to leave in the
Yeah.
big sense, you know. So it's can't have one without the other.
Yeah. Actually, I only got a few more here, but I wanted to add this one music one that I sort of forgot to ask. And, you know, I talked to Don Preston, and he's an improviser too, but he also knows how to read music and play scores and, you know, complex music.
Yeah.
And he, like a lot of musicians, they go, don't think. And I'm like, yeah, right. How do you not think? If you're improvising, you have this Rolodex of licks and things in your head to fall back on, like, oh, I can go there or there. How do you know what to do when you're improvising? How do you let free and not think?
Well, I'm always thinking. And I can only speak for myself. I'm always thinking. It's impossible not to think. So that's me.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I suspect they're talking about something else, but that's presumptuous of me to think that. But like you say, you're always thinking, even if you don't have a bag of tricks, of licks and all that, you know. Like I don't have much of a bag of tricks or licks, but there's only 12 notes. So you know, and then someone will say, well, there's Indian music. And I say, okay, but it's still finite, you know, it's still finite, at least what we can hear. I'm always thinking. And so for me, it's, I don't spend time with that.
Yeah. It's like Monk saying music is math, but he's also being playful. He knows, hey, play is the verb we'd put before music. You play music.
Yeah.
So what's a question that remains unresolved for you?
Has it been worth it?
How has playing music shaped your behavior?
Back to your friend and mine, Alan, you know, Alan would ask this question. I'll put it in my form. Would William Roper be any less William Roper if he never played the tuba again? If something happened where he couldn't play the tuba?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, I would be.
Yeah.
And that is because music didn't help me find who I am or shape who I am. It reflected who I am.
Reflected. What a word. That's beautiful, because this is Thornton Wilder. Art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for over 90 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
It's about living good.
Yeah.
I had a friend, a bass player. He was the principal bass player in the Pittsburgh Symphony. And they came out here on tour after I had moved back from there. And we, sitting around having Swiss cheese and beer. And we were talking, and he said, "We're musicians, Bill. You know what that means?" And I didn't. And he said, "It means we got to live good." And so there you go. Got to live good.
I like that. What gives you the most optimism?
I don't have much. You mean in the world sense, right?
No, I mean in the context you want to put it in. Whatever context you want to put it in.
Well, in the world sense, I don't have much. In my sense, again, being willing to get out of bed in the morning.
It's good. The first question I ask is, what's the best thing for a human being? And Wilhelm Reich said, the best thing for a human being is another human being. And the last question I asked is, what gives you the most optimism? That's what they asked Groucho Marx at the end of his life. And he said, other people. So it's sure been fun and enlightening to spend this time with another person, especially because it was you. Thank you so much, William Roper. Bill, thank you. I am so grateful.
Well, thank you. It's been marvelous. And my grandmother used to clean Groucho Marx's house. For what it's worth.
Yeah.
Small world,
It is. He said a lot of great things. And, back to that word thinking, with Bridget Bardot dying yesterday, she says, when I make love, I don't think. I'm like, good luck. But the Marx Brothers were in a tight jam once. And one of them said, we got to think. And the other one said, we already tried that.
There you go. There you go. Don't do what you're not good at.
I'm going to hit the end broadcast button now, but I hope this never ends and we keep talking and playing and having fun and being good forever and ever. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, sir. Have a good life.
You too.